Ho, 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 we made this.
Hello and welcome to Chucky Vision, the podcast about Child's Play, Chucky, killer dolls, and very tenuously linked other things here on the We Made This podcast network. My name is Mark Adams and I am one of your co-hosts, and with me as always is Dev Elson. Hello Dev.
Hello everyone.
I like it when you do the hello thing, but what I didn't know until we record in person is you kind of like arc your head as you do it as well.
You gotta animate it.
We are in person because we can, and because we want to go and see a drag show later today. So we thought we'd do our season 2 roundup episode, which originally had 2 chats that you've already heard on it, and so they're not going to be on it.
We've already explained at the start of those that they ended up being such good interviews with people who've never been on podcasts before. We really complimented them on that.
I know, right?
But they were so good that we decided to put them out on their own.
So what we're doing is 3 big segments, maybe 4. Did we agree on a 4th? Well, we're definitely doing, because it's pre-recorded, we're definitely doing a rundown of the polls that we did on Twitter earlier this month. We're also going to look at readers' questions and discussion points that they've sent in to us. And what was the one you were doing, Dev?
We're going to be looking at all of the predictions that we've made over Season 2 because, Mark, I've done all the maths. I know me and maths don't agree on this podcast.
Maths isn't your vibe.
I have done the maths. I've done percentages.
Gosh.
I've worked out how many we've done and who was the more right of Season 2 of Chucky.
I'm pretty sure that this segment wouldn't be happening if it was me more right than you.
I didn't
You'd
know.
have cut it.
I did not know the answer until I worked it out.
Have we got another segment, or have I imagined that? Maybe it's just this intro.
I think it was just for free, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, we're so organised. And by we, I mean me. Anyway, first up is our chat where we looked at the polls that we put on Twitter. Some of them were sensible. Some of them were interesting. Some of them were dumb as fuck. So first up is our chat about the numerous polls that we put on Twitter. We did this last year and thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think we got a lot of interaction there. So we thought we would not kind of do any boat rocking on this and just basically do the same thing again. And we did some polls around episode 6, and then we did some polls after the series finished. So it makes sense to go through the episode 6 polls first. We asked 4 questions, and they were all around which characters were going to survive and which characters were going to die. So the first one was, which teen do you think will die? And then, which teen do you think will live? The options were Lexi, Devon, or Jake. And for the teen death, 54.5% thought Lexi would die, 36.4% thought Devon would die, and only 9.1% thought Jake would die. And here's the twist. No one fucking died.
Yeah, no one did. Though I did wonder. A lot of people, I guess, assumed maybe Lexi was going to die. I did feel that. I knew, when episode 8 started and Chucky had that chainsaw, Barbara would have been the safe bet for anyone dying. But I did wonder, could they kill off Lexi? I didn't think they would kill off Jake or Devon, but I did think when that episode was playing, are they going to kill Lexi?
Yeah, and I think Lexi was reflected in the votes. I think I voted Lexi on it as well, because we both voted in these polls.
Yeah.
And yeah, she probably would have been the one that was going to get knocked off, because maybe they would end her storyline with a redemption of, getting over her drug addiction and then getting horribly, horribly murdered, because that's how horror films work. And I think perhaps we might look at this again if there's a series 3 and go, well, we all thought Lexi was going to die if and when she dies, you know?
Yeah, looking at the story of Lexi, I think maybe killing her off at that point would have been maybe too mean, because we had this whole drug subplot, and then she was just starting to recover. And yes, it's a horror show where people die, but it would have been a little too mean. You know, the show could be seen as mean towards Nika, but Nika then gets those chances to escape and plan revenge and stuff. So, you know, like, it would have been mean if, like, Nika had her arms and legs chopped off and then she got killed as well.
I mean, I think mean is off the table here because they killed Nadine. And I'm sorry, that is the meanest thing they've ever fucking done. So I'm not sure we can say, oh, they wouldn't be that mean, because they were that mean.
I guess what I mean is, like, mean on top of mean. You know, Nadine was a character who was introduced in this season, and it was very possible from the start that she was going to get killed because she was so likable. It was set up that she was so likable that she would be missed if she was killed. I'm saying, like, you can't shit on a character and then kill them before that's resolved.
I suppose. And on the flip side of that, our listeners' thoughts: Jake would survive with an 83.3, followed by Lexi on 16.7, and then Devon got a big fat 0 on that. And I think that one was a really obvious one as well, that Jake is the main protagonist of the entire television run, really. But you say that. Game of Thrones, what's his name? Sean Bean.
True. With Game of Thrones, that's... well, I mean, there's a lot of big stars in that. You could say that... I wouldn't really say that's stunt casting, because there's so many actors in that. Yeah, again, it's, you know, it's very hard to predict a show like this, but with Jake, I think I would say, trying to be a smart, that if he was killed because he's an up-and-coming actor, like, if he got really popular and if he was in another movie or something, then they'd probably kill him off because he's moving on to other things. I mean, maybe they could kill him off, but again, it's that sense of... It's a weird one, franchises that go on this long, with stories that go on this long. It's like killing off Andy. When do you decide the end for that story arc?
True. And I don't know, I started to think after the poll, particularly when Jake got that he will survive thing so strongly, I was like, actually, if you remember, Nightmare on Elm Street, every film, the survivors of the previous film got killed off in the first quarter of an hour of the next film. So horror does have a precedent for killing off survivors and bringing in the next mugs. So I don't know. I think I'm going to change my prediction. I think if anyone's going to die early, if there is a series 3, I think it'll be Jake.
Maybe. That is the odd thing, because as you said, Nightmare on Elm Street, we're talking mediums here of TV and movies. It's very, very possible if Don did a movie and he wanted a kind of soft reboot of stories, then you'd get, like, with the Nightmare movies, like, that movie would say that these characters got killed off because it's not their story anymore.
Yeah, you're right. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Like you said, it does happen in TV shows. Protagonists who are clearly the protagonist get killed off for reasons, and then new protagonists come in. That would be the most awkward thing. You know, if you kill Jake off, then why is Devon here? And then you've got a new protagonist. But these are such abstract conversations of the future. Who knows how Don will do it?
Yeah, and I think they are going to be a bit abstract because this time last year we knew we were getting season 2, whereas at the moment it's all a bit up in the air what the future of the franchise is. And yeah, we were super excited for season 2 at this point, weren't we, last year? Whereas at the moment we're all just a little bit anxious about whether there's going to be a season 3, whether or not there might be a movie if there isn't. And yeah, these all seem a little bit meaner than last year, these polls. But I'll move on. The next one was the same thing, death or who's most likely to die, who's most likely to live, but this time with the adult characters. The options were Bryce, Ruth, Catherine, or Mixter. And for the which one was most likely to die, our listeners said Bryce was most likely to die with a 55% score. Then Mixter with 30, then Ruth with 10, and then Catherine with 5. And they almost got it in the right order.
Yes, pretty accurate results there, especially with Bryce and Catherine. A lot of people suspected Bryce was going to die, mainly because he was played by Davin Sauer.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what I'm saying about, mean on mean. Well, it's hard to think, because Nadine was such a likable character. Catherine was also such a likable character. That is an odd prediction, because with the death of Nadine, Catherine is completely on the table. She could have died. But people, I guess, predicted that would be too many nice people dead.
Yeah, and I think Bryce's death, when we were predicting it, was for the character that hadn't been redeemed, which makes it so bittersweet that we were right when he ended up being this misunderstood, tragic figure, and then he was made of explodium.
Yes, we got it right, but the context was completely different. We assumed he was going to become an arsehole, just like the Wheeler brothers.
Yes. And he wasn't. He was lovely, in a weird way. So on the flip side, which adult did our listeners think were most likely to survive? Well, first up was Mixter with 30.8%, and then the other three all scored 23.1%. So a pretty unconclusive one on that one. I think it's interesting that it didn't mirror the adult death one, though.
No, that was a close one. People really didn't know who was going to survive. Mixter as the winner is an odd one. I voted Mixter to die. Not that I disliked her character or the actress or anything. I just really felt like this kind of addition of the secret jigsaw behind Chucky, this older person who's been helping him out. I didn't see that going on more than one season. But a lot of people apparently did.
And I think, it's not who we wanted to die or survive. It's who we predicted would die or survive. And I definitely voted for Bryce to die. But I think I voted for the most likely to stay alive was Ruth, which I got wrong.
Yeah, I felt... I would have voted for Ruth to die, because once it became obvious that she saw Jesus in a taco, that's kind of that doesn't bode well for survival instincts.
Very true. So next up was which legacy protagonist do you think is most likely to die, and then which legacy protagonist is most likely to survive. Now, it was controversial on my choices of what was protagonist and antagonist, and we'll go into that in a little bit, but the options were Kyle, Nika, Glenn, or Andy. And the legacy protagonist most likely to die was a draw with Kyle and Nika. They both got 38%. And then Glenn got 14 and Andy got 9. It's interesting, isn't it? That everybody seems to think Andy will survive this again and again and again.
Yeah, really stacks the deck eventually, doesn't it? How many returns someone can have. And this might be the good end for Andy.
Yeah, which is interesting. I don't know if I want that. I like having Andy around. I do.
Yeah.
But Kyle and Nika as the dual winners, I said Kyle. Who did you say?
To die, I think I may have put Andy. Just because I didn't know what Don was going for. It's an odd franchise, Chucky. Because we've talked about mean. It can be very mean and it can be very loving. And you don't know who's going to get that treatment. Because, it's such a idiosyncratic show to Mancini that he's playing against himself as much as he is the audience. Like Barbara, you can tell Barbara is a character that he loved writing. But then, clearly, it got to a point where he decided, I've had fun with this character, but yeah, I've got to stop with them now.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why I voted later on most likely to stay alive was Nika, because of Don Mancini's friendship with Fiona Dourif and how he likes to give her acting challenges. And that was my reasoning for that. So the vote for legacy protagonist most likely to live was Andy on 42.9, followed by Glenn on 23.8, then Nika on 19, and then Kyle on 14.3. And I think Andy is the obvious choice, but I definitely voted Nika because of Don's friendship with Fiona Dourif.
Yeah, she is the newer, well, not the newest, but the newer protagonist. It's what I said about Jake. When might Jake leave? It can be up to the actor, and I'm sure Alex Vincent is happy to come back whenever he wants, happy to come back whenever Don wants him, but maybe there's a mutual discussion between them. I'm sure they talk about the character all the time, and they've probably said, how long can we keep dragging Andy's story on? Because the show, both season 1 and 2, it isn't really his story. He is a supporting character in both seasons.
True.
I guess maybe they thought, unless Andy is becoming the protagonist again, there's no real reason to keep him around because all the other characters are survivors now. So they don't really need anything from Andy.
Yeah, you're right. And it's moved on so far from what Chucky wanted from Andy in the first film that it is just both of them having a vendetta rather than anything more intense like the original film.
Yeah, it's interesting because, also the thing is, what we've seen in this show, what we've seen in the movies as well, is that Chucky does not ever let grudges go. He will chase you down to the ends of the earth. So how do you write out a character on a good note like that? How does he walk off into the sunset when Chucky has been shown to chase you into the sunset?
True.
I guess it would have to mean some kind of level of maybe Jake and Devon need his help or something, and Andy's like, "You've got it. I can't teach you anymore. So you've got all the help you need." Yeah. It is interesting that for both of those, Glenn and Glenda were smack dab in the middle. Really, people didn't know either way where they were going.
It was just Glenn.
Ah.
Because, well, let's move on to legacy antagonists' deaths or stay alive. And I did make a controversial choice because of the restrictions of Twitter. I would have put Glenda and Jennifer Tilly with the legacy protagonists if I could, but you can only have 4. So what I did was I split them into where they were. So, Kyle, Nika, Glenn and Andy were together at the time at the school, whereas Jennifer Tilly, Tiffany, Nika Chucky, and Glenda were together in the car. So that does mean Nika wasn't. Oh, anyway, it made sense at the time. And yeah. So yes, the options were Tiffany, Nika Chucky, Glenda, and Jennifer Tilly. Obviously, Jennifer Tilly is a victim, not an antagonist.
Yeah.
But she was with Tiffany. Moving on. So the results of this, the CHUCKYVISION listeners thought most likely to die was Jennifer Tilly on 60%, then followed by Tiffany on 20%, on 16, Nika Chucky, and then on only 4, Glenda. And Jennifer Tilly. I hate that we got this right, and I also voted for Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah. Actually, screw what I said earlier. That's a case of mean upon mean. She was a prisoner for decades and then got hit by a truck.
You're right. Poor Jennifer
That
Tilly.
only slides because it is Jennifer Tilly.
So, yeah, Jennifer Tilly did die. Tiffany might be dead. Nika Chucky didn't die. Is that right? I've lost track. Nika Chucky went into
Mixter.
Right.
And then went
into
a doll and then died. In episode 8.
Right. Let me get this right. Nika Chucky went into Bryce, then into a doll, then into Mixter, then back into a doll, and then died in episode 8. You're right. Huh. And it wasn't Nika Chucky, it was Chucky Prime. Why did I put Nika Chucky?
That's what we've been known him for ages, yeah. Although, I in my listens through, we were calling Nika Chucky Prime. We were saying, like, the Prime Chucky before that was in the show.
Were we?
Yeah.
Oh, go team. So on the opposite side, Legacy antagonist most likely to live, Tiffany on 46.4, then Nika Chucky on 21.4, then Glenda on 17.9, and poor Jennifer Tilly on only 14.3. The thing is, all these characters technically died.
Yeah, God. Yeah, a lot of these characters do have a tendency of coming back.
So does Glenn and Glenda, do they count as dying because they became GG together? Maybe not. And I don't think Tiffany's dead. She was definitely shot at, but we didn't see her die. But in theory, all 4 of these characters died, making the poll completely irrelevant.
That should have been its own poll with Glenn and Glenda. Although we didn't know. Well, we could have predicted it, obviously, but that should have been its own poll, really. Do we predict Glenn and Glenda are going to become the doll again? Maybe that's what people were voting when they said, are they going to die?
If you remember, I said that I thought Glenn would end up in the doll.
We both thought that. I thought that, yeah.
Yeah, after they were critically injured. But the shock of Glenda as well was so badass. So that is the mid-season, well, not quite mid-season, but the part way through season polls. We did some after the final episode had aired, and the first one was which season was better, Series 1, Series 2, or both were equally good. And interestingly, our listeners voted 48% for Season 2, then followed on 32% for both equally, and then on Season 1 with 20%. So, Season 1 got a bit of a kick in.
A little bit. I mean, 32% for both isn't too bad. So, if you kind of... Not, I mean, doing percentages, God, me, if I'd never have to do maths again on this. It's not 20% plus 32%. That isn't how it works. But it does. I don't think people hate Season 1 compared to Season 2.
No, I don't.
I'm a little surprised Season 2 won. I mean, Season 2 is very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. I'll watch it again for sure. But I think both of us were more critical of Season 2 than Season 1. I think we watched all of Season 1 with nary a complaint. We just enjoyed the ride completely. Season 2, we were a bit more vocal about how narratively messy it was at times. But
I guess... voted both equal, just to make that clear. What did you vote for?
Yeah, I voted both, yeah. I guess people just enjoy the mess.
Yeah, and I think you're right there. But also, you've got to remember, people who listen to Chucky Vision and people who follow us are the positive fans. Yeah. We have talked very briefly about how it's basically incels whining about what's happened to the franchise. But I think that's indicative of Chucky Vision listeners rather than Chucky fans. And I think we need to put that into perspective. People who like the show enough to listen to us are more likely to enjoy the queerness and the legacy characters and everything that we enjoy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, to my point about mess, American Horror Story's had how many seasons now? 9 or 10? I've watched 5. And every fucking season is a complete mess by the end of it. And yet, that is still a rabid fan base. So audiences do not care if a TV show is messy as hell.
Next up was our Logo World Cup, where we had 2 competitions in round 1, where we had the first 4 episodes logos, and then the final 4 episodes logos. So in round 1... Chucky Nika portraits won on 50%, then followed on 25% with crosses, and then on 17% Chucky pumpkins, and then bringing up the rear on 8% was Chucky on TVs. And that one, again, I voted for the winner, Chucky Nika portraits. How about you?
Same again, yeah. It seems like a lot of people. 50%, that's half.
For round 2, it was chainsaws and Christmas trees on 46%, followed by candles on 31%, then bald heads on 23%, and then cuddly toys got a big fat 0.
That was one we did criticize.
I didn't vote for chainsaws and Christmas trees.
I did. I was one of the votes for that one. What did you vote for?
I voted for Bald Chucky Head because I like Bald Chucky. He is my spirit animal apart from the murder. I'm just saying I've got the same hairstyle basically, and that's why I voted for it. So that did mean that Chucky and Nika Portraits and Chainsaws and Christmas Trees went to the final, and much to my absolute dismay, we got a 50-50 split in the final. We got a draw, and so, there's no penalty shootouts. So unfortunately, that one gave us a draw. And I think maybe we can try and find a deciding vote by both of us saying what we voted for. I voted for the Chucky and Nika Portraits. What did you vote for?
I voted for that as well.
So that does mean that if we hadn't voted, the Chucky Vision listeners would have gone for Chainsaws and Christmas Trees. So I think we can say that that's probably the winner.
But also, does this have to be a democracy? It is our show. We both voted for
Nika. That's true. It doesn't have to be a democracy. Chucky and Nika Portraits win! Next up was the yes or no question, and it was, is Carolyn actually Chucky and Tiffany's daughter? We got a no on 82 and a yes on 18. And that one, I think, says it all really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it would be a wild twist if it was true. I mean, maybe, if Don wants to really do something crazy there, just have the whole season 3, have that idea of, that it's just manipulation, it's just gaslighting, and then boom, like halfway through the season B. Actually, no, they actually are related.
It's an interesting one, but yeah, I voted that she's not.
The actress is just cast to look quite similar to Lexi and Barbara.
The next one was even more unsubtle. Is Tiffany dead? And a massive 94% said no, with just 6% saying yes. And I think, honestly, I posted that poll with the hope that we'd get a 100% to 0.
Someone's always going to vote the opposite just so they can brag they're right.
Yeah, I think someone's been contrary, which annoyed me. So whoever you are, I hope you really think that Tiffany's dead and you're not just being contrary. And if you aren't being contrary and you do end up being right, well done. If you were being contrary, boo!
Sadly, this is not... We can't run a dictatorship on this vote because it really depends on what Don does.
Yeah. And Tiffany's definitely not dead. I mean, I can't face the idea of no Jennifer Tilly going forward because she's the best. Next up, our final poll about the Chucky TV show was, if there is a season 3, which legacy character would you like to see return? And the options were Mike Norris, Karen Barkley, Tyler, or Jesse and Jade. And with a whopping 53%, the Chucky Vision listeners wanted to see Karen Barkley, and then followed with an equal tie on 20% were Tyler and Jesse and Jade, and Mike Norris got a 7%, which genuinely surprised me. What did you think, Dev?
I voted for Karen. Mike, it's a shame that I only got 6% because I like the actor Chris Sarandon. I think he would be willing to come back for it. Yeah, I think people didn't vote for Mike Norris just because the way... Well, that's the thing. A lot of people assumed in the sequels that Mike Norris was an asshole who just abandoned Karen and Andy. But then in one of the later entries, it was very quickly confirmed that Karen and Mike were together.
Yeah, that was definitely implied. Also, remember, Mike Norris is dead according to the comic.
Yeah, that's interesting if they stick with that idea, because then Karen and Mike would be together.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't vote for Karen. I voted for Tyler, but that's hardly a surprise, is it? But I also think that's more likely now that the actor who plays Tyler is out of the nick.
Yeah.
And he's been turning up at conventions and shit, so we don't know, do we? He might be.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Well, It's what do we want to see the most? And, well, I guess you would vote for Tyler, but
I did.
not the
That's
most
exactly
likely
right.
to return. If it's most likely to return, Catherine Hagel ain't coming back.
You don't think?
The other guy might, but case in point, I don't know what his name is, so...
Oh, Jesse and Jade, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the actor's name. Like, if he came back, everyone, I think, would be like, who? You kind of need Catherine Hagel as well.
True. And then we had 3 polls that weren't directly related to the TV series, but they were related to CHUCKYVISION. And the first one was, if we were to do a new show, what would you like it to be? The options were Freddyvision, which is based on A Nightmare on Elm Street, Cenovision, which is based on Hellraiser, King of the Podsters, which is based on the Monsterverse, or Scannervision, which is based on Scanners. And that one came from the fact that we got distracted by the idea of a new Scanners TV show coming out. And kind of on the podcast, we're like, should we do it? No, let's not. Oh, maybe we should. Anyway. And so we got 58% for Freddyvision, 25% for Cenovision, 17% for King of the Podsters, and 0% for Scannervision. The inspiration of the vote got a big fat 0.
I think that is maybe just because people... I mean, it's 0%, so I guess that's everyone, but, you know, maybe we should have said that there's a new TV show coming, because maybe people think this is just the movies.
And it's interesting, though. I would argue that as cultiness goes, that is the correct order of how culty each franchise is.
Yeah, Freddy and Hellraiser definitely make sense. To pull away the curtain, you know, we have been discussing what to do in case Chucky doesn't come back, or what to do if we have time to do 2 shows. We've been talking quite, quote unquote, seriously about what to do for the next franchise, because we were also considering the SEO. You know, what's popular now. And Hellraiser has the new movie, which came and went, I think is meant to be all right. And it also has a TV show coming. So that would be a recap show. You know, us watching the TV show and us watching the old movies. Freddyvision, there's no SEO on that. You know, that's a dormant franchise. It has been for a long while. But, you know, we're asking fans here, we're asking horror fans here, people love Freddy. And he's quite similar to Chucky.
Do.
He's a talker like
and
Chucky.
I do love Freddy. I think if it was purely on a what I like, Freddy would have won. For me, I voted for Cenovision because I thought that would be interesting, actually. But with, like you were saying, the new TV series, and there's actually loads of films to look at. And I think it would be interesting for me to rave about how incredibly good the first one is. And then the diminishing returns on quality as we watch the rest of the million films. Hellraiser 3 has a soft spot in my heart because of just how utterly batshit it is. But after that, it just gets cack.
Hellraiser 4 has a soft spot in my heart, purely for Adam Scott. And the rest of that movie is a weird time-jumping mess.
We did have some suggestions in replies, actually, for what we could do as alternatives. And one was...
We did get a few.
Yeah, and someone suggested we look at Hannibal, and someone else suggested we look at Slasher. And I've come up with names for them. So Slasher Vision for Slasher. But I'm quite pleased with the one I've come up with for Hannibal. I've called it Yummy Vision. I'm such a bellend. Do you want to do Yummy Vision, Dev?
Hannibal probably should have been on the poll, really, because it's Mancini's involved. It's a horror TV show based on horror movies, so there's plenty to look at. But also not a crazy amount. You know, the same with
and
Slasher
a
Vision.
Really good name. That's basically why CHUCKYVISION exists, because of the CHUCKLEVISION pun. Oh dear, Yummy Vision, I'm such a cock. But I think the reality is, fuck. I think the reality is that regardless of whether we get regardless of whether we get season 3, there is still loads of Chucky-related stuff that we want to look at. We'll probably go monthly and continue it monthly, but I could see that happening for another 2 or 3 years. If that is the case, we might have capacity to do another monthly show, and maybe one of those we could do. It's all a bit up in the air until we know, really, isn't it?
Yeah. The fan voice is loud and clear for Freddy. That depends, really, because we can do the movies, no problem. There's 8 movies, including the remake. And then there's the idea, that has a TV show. Do we do the TV show? Because that is like 70 episodes of that.
What, the Freddy's New Nightmares?
Yeah.
I mean, no, they're just quite difficult to get, aren't they?
No, they actually got remastered quite recently.
Oh, okay.
I
Cool.
believe they are exclusively on, what's it called now? Screambox. It's a horror subscription service.
Can we get that in the UK?
I think so. Maybe? I don't know.
Future Mark here, and the answer is actually no, unless you have a VPN. Dev has a VPN because he's capable with computers. I don't.
It's less to do with getting it and more to do with, I mean, we can do it, but that's like 60 plus episodes compared to the 8 podcast episodes we're doing on the movies. You know what I mean? It's it's the balance.
I mean, the reality is no fucking promises. We're definitely going to carry on with Chucky Vision and probably flog it to death, if I'm being honest with you. But no promises. But also maybe. But also not likely. But also maybe. Etc. I'm going to move on.
As you can tell, we've had this discussion for a while. So, yeah, we're glad to have done the poll so we can hear your thoughts on it. If we ever talk about it properly again, we'll do another poll on it. Yeah, and Mark is right, because we'll keep doing the specials. And the likelihood is, if Sci-Fi do come out and say Season 3 is not happening, then, like Mark said, if we can do specials for 2-3 years, Don might have a movie out in 2-3 years.
I know, right?
I imagine as soon as he gets the say that Sci-Fi says no, the day after he's going to start, he probably has loads of ideas written down. He is just going to morph those into a movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. The other votes that we had were for what people would like us to do for our next monthly episodes. We're doing Megan next month, and we're hoping to do that as a in-person recording, go to the cinema together and record straight after. So that is what we're doing in January. But we had a vote for what doll-related film you would like us to look at in February. And the options were Dolly Dearest, Living Doll, Dolls, or Zapat Lela. And the winner on 50% was Dolly Dearest, followed on 38% by Dolls, and then with 13% Living Doll, and then on 0 Zapat Lela, which is interesting. I voted for Dolly Dearest because I bloody love Dolly Dearest, but I kind of wanted Zapat Lela to do well because it is the weirdest.
That is definitely going to be a special we'll do eventually. Well, we'll do all of these movies, but yeah, Zapat Lela is a bizarre movie that we're going to do. I understand why it gets 0% because who's heard of it?
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Zapat Lela is a kind of Bollywood film about a killer doll.
It is basically a remake of Child's Play.
Yeah. I just want there to be dancing. I don't know if there'll be dancing.
Oh, I'm sure they'll be dancing. It was a long film. It's a typical, 2.5-hour Bollywood film.
Now, I have already looked at Dolly Dearest on a podcast,
yeah.
But I love Dolly Dearest so much that I'm more than happy with the listener vote. And we're doing Dolly Dearest in February. Are you excited, Dev?
Yes, I've only seen bits of Dolly Dearest. I know the titular doll. And cool to see that it got a 50%. Definitely has a fan base that does. I saw Dolls got 37%. I have seen Dolls. Dolls is a neat little film.
I haven't seen Dolls or Living Doll, actually. Whereas I voted for Dolly Dearest because I really like it. I think maybe I should watch those two at some point as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen Living Doll, but Dolls is a neat one. We'll definitely get around to Dolls eventually because that is less like the other killer doll ones like Dolly Dearest or Chucky. It's not one titular killer doll. It's more just all of the dolls in this house are alive.
Okay. So is it like the Puppet Master films?
Oh, I guess. It's been ages since I've seen it, but I enjoyed it. I'd say probably it's niches above Puppet Master in terms of enjoyment.
Okay. And for March, we gave you 4 weird, tenuous, and off-the-wall options. And they were Chucky when he was on wrestling shows, CHUCKYVISION, Channel Zero, which had Don writing episodes, and Batteries Not Included. And your winner on 33% was Batteries Not Included, followed by CHUCKYVISION on 27%, and then WWE and Channel Zero both got 20%. And that was quite close, so I think maybe we should try and get all of those done. But I love how it was the really dumb shit that was first and second place. Fucking kids film and kids telly. Brilliant.
Yeah, we will definitely touch all 4 of these eventually because we don't even stick to it. So we say we'll do tenuous link, then doll thing, then tenuous link, but we tend to do whatever. But all 4 of these are very different ideas from one another.
Yeah, but that is confirmed. In January, we're doing Megan. In February, we're doing Dolly Dearest. And in March, we're doing Batteries Not Included. We may or may not throw in some other stuff in between if we have the opportunity to do something cool, but those are the scheduled ones that we're going to do for the next 3 months. Oh, after our Christmas special in a few days, Christmas at Rosemont.
Yes, we've got that as well.
That's recorded and edited and ready to go. So those were the polls that I set. But then, Dev, you took over the Twitter and you did a couple of other polls, didn't you? They were rogue polls.
Well, okay, don't put me in blast. I remember you saying, do you have any poll ideas? And I was like, let me have a go. I've got a couple.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't run them past me. They were rogue polls. And so the first one was okay. I thought that was a good one. And it was, if plot would allow it, what Chucky would you like to see back again? And the options were Buff Chucky, Colonel Chucky, Good Chucky, or Chucky in his bridal gown.
Okay, I'll admit, I couldn't think of a 4th one. And I realised only afterwards that you don't need to put 4.
No, you don't. That being said, Chucky in his bridal gown did not come in last place. With a magnificent 71.4%. The winner was Good Chucky. Followed on 14.3% by Chucky in his bridal gown. And on a meager 7.1% each, Buff Chucky and Colonel Chucky, which I take umbrage with, Bald Chucky, were in joint 3rd/last. And I voted for Bald Chucky, so I think there was only like 1 or 2 other people that voted for Bald Chucky, and I'm appalled. I'm disgusted.
I almost made that poll worse by having the 4th option be Bald Chucky. Who was Colonel Chucky, but...
Yeah, I know.
We just want Chucky bald.
Who did you vote for? Don't tell me you were the other person who voted for Bald Chucky.
No, I did go over the obvious for the Good Chucky. I think a lot of people want him back.
Yeah, he was adorable until he was murderous.
Yeah, Mancini said that he'd love to have that back. More so, I guess, just because Brad Dourif is really fun in that role. But he has said that if he came back, he can't just do the same trick twice. So it would have to be a different context.
Yeah. And your final poll was definitely Dev. Nika got robot arms for season 2 and for season 3. And then the options were robot legs, more robot arms, bigger robot arms, or tiny Chucky arms? You're an idiot.
People voted, though.
They fucking did.
People had thoughts.
I mean, I voted as well. And so the winner on 60% was robot legs, which is the obvious one. And then 2 other options got 20% in second place. Bigger robot arms and tiny Chucky arms. Meaning more robot arms got none. So she's not going to have 4 arms.
She's not going to General Grievous it up in season 3.
No, she's not. But I was like, well, Dev's being Dev. So I voted for tiny Chucky arms. And there were some other people who were dumb enough to vote for that as well.
Amazingly, one of those votes was not me. I didn't vote for that one. I don't know why I didn't vote for the dumbest one.
What did you vote for?
I voted for the obvious one, robot legs. I guess that's just
Robot
my
legs.
weird headspace of making that. I made the dumbest poll, but then treated it somewhat sincerely.
Oh dear, these polls always make me laugh. And it always, every time I look at them, like, really? That many people bothered to vote? It's incredibly flattering, incredibly ridiculous, and fucking wonderful. Oh dear. We need Series 3. Just so we can have more stupid-ass polls.
100 years since Nosferatu first terrified audiences on the big screen.
30 years since Francis Ford Coppola gave us Bram Stoker's Dracula.
And 10 years since Dark Shadows with Johnny Depp.
Vampire Videos is a podcast taking a look at this iconic blood-sucking monster on film and television.
I'm Dan Owen.
And I'm Hugh McStay.
And we're here to guide you through a century of vampirism on film. From Hollywood's golden age with Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula,
to the more lurid hammer horrors of the 60s and 70s starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
through to the 80s boom in vampires, which brought these creatures of the night into the modern age.
And everything this century's had to offer us, from foreign and independent films, spoof comedies, and even teenage love stories. Yes, I'm talking about Twilight.
We aim to cover it all, one bite at a time.
So join us on a voyage into the depths of vampire cinema, old and new, with weekly guests offering their own insights and expertise. And why not follow us on Twitter @VampVideos.
A proud part of the We Made This podcast network, subscribe now to Vampire Videos, and thanks for listening.
So next up is our chat, where we look at the listeners' questions and discussion points. And if you can hear a in the background, we have been joined by my cat Pasha. So if my noise reduction skills aren't what's required, kitty cat noises in the background, sorry, not sorry. She's beautiful. And she's sat on Dev. Right, so first up, we did get a message earlier in the year from Kevin Allen at KevinAl325970993. Is that his zip number or his phone number or his date of birth? No, well, but yeah, long numbers. And he pointed out that we did discuss Lachlan Watson's age and Glenn and Glenda's age. And so if Bride was released on October the 16th, 1998, that means that on October the 16th, 2022, Glenn and Glenda would have been 24 years old. I looked up how old Lachlan Watson is, and they are 21. So it seems about right. So it seems like the casting got it right. Because I think Seed was set straight after Bride, and Bride was set in the year it was released. Is that right?
I don't think Seed was a period piece. I think Seed might have been real time. 2004, 2005.
Which would have meant that Glenn/Glenda, when they were shitface, were 6.
Yeah, they were kind of meant to be a child, but it wasn't portrayed as a child by Billy Boyd in that one, was it? It was a very...
childlike, but more kind of like, I'd have said 10 or 12, maybe?
Yeah, it was very hard to determine. And especially the fact that he didn't look really like a child, so it was hard to determine back
Kind
then.
of did. He was the height of a child.
They're all the height of a child.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think we got it right, basically.
Once again, the timeline
Wibbly wobbly.
tracks.
Timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly-ish, but tracks for the most part.
So next up, we've got some predictions for Series 3 from, well, their Twitter name is Creek, at Illyria Shade 56, ILLYRIASHADE 56. And they've sent us some interesting theories and predictions. So I'm going to go through them and see if we agree, Dev.
Mm-hmm.
Series 3 predictions. Lexi will die. I think we said she was most likely, didn't we?
I think we did, yeah. I, at times, did think she was going to die during Season 2.
Here's one for you, Dev. Tiffany will be mutilated and lose some limbs. But if she does get, like, mutilated and lose limbs, will she get robot arms?
That's the real question. It really depends what Jennifer Tilly is up for, really. I don't know if Don would just... I understand the revenge of that. I don't think Don would just say, okay, now here's another actor doing the same thing. It would be probably a different form of revenge.
It would be poetic justice, but I don't really feel like justice balances in Chucky, so I can see why you might predict it, but I don't think that's something that we'll see explored personally.
Unless she goes back into the Tiffany doll, and then she gets her arms and legs cut off. And then,
That would be an interesting take, wouldn't it?
and then Nika just, like, throws it on a pet.
That-
There you go.
Yes, that's an interesting one. Fucking hell. Season 3 is going to happen, let's be positive, and it's going to be wild. Next prediction, Andy and Kyle help Nika to hunt Tiffany for sport. I don't feel like sport covers the kind of trauma and hatred that Andy and Kyle have. And we also discussed how much of an issue they have with Tiffany.
Yeah, we talked about how episode 7 did show the contrast between them. How Andy and Kyle were very happy to walk off into the sunset, whereas Nika still had unfinished business.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely be a part of season 3. If Nika and Andy and Kyle interacted again. It would be, Andy and Kyle trying to say, like, we're done. We're done out of this. We're not going back into it.
Yeah, I'd like to see Nika and Andy and Kyle's relationship explored more. I think that would work really well. I think that'd be interesting. Almost like different generations of trauma. But I don't see Andy and Kyle killing for fun. They've always killed for necessity.
And they've always just killed Chucky dolls, really.
True. Next up, Gigi and Caroline interact, and Gigi reverses Caroline's heel turn.
I really have no idea where Don can go with Caroline. We've had child murder, we've had child death already in the show, so could they kill off Caroline? Possibly.
Yeah, it'd be brutal. I think Gigi's done, at least for the next season. I think they will give that storyline and that character a rest, because it did come to a quite satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, well, this is a reason why we didn't really do season 3 predictions on our own, as its own segment, to round this off. Because, honestly, I don't know if we could have predicted season 1 or 2 at all, really. And it's the setting that is a big part of it. We could have said, oh, this happens to Andy or this happens to Lexi.
Yes.
But the setting of them going into this religious school, that sets up so many plot lines.
I mean, if we look at other horror franchises, like just picking one off the top of my head, let's just go with Leprechaun. You had Leprechaun 1, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3. They were all set in standard kind of... What about if season 3 is Chucky in space, like Leprechaun in space, or Chucky in the hood? Maybe that's our next settings.
They do seem to be going that way with Chucky.
I don't think we're gonna get Jason X though.
Maybe not that far, but the high school setting of season 1. See, it's a soft kind of anthology show, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit more American Horror Story than it is Leprechaun in the Hood.
Season 3 is going to be a setting that we can't really predict, and that will set up a large thing. It's like other franchises. It's like, I don't know, Halloween, you know? You watch the middle trilogy, you know, 4, 5, and 6, and 4 and 5 both star Daniel Harris as little Jamie Lloyd, who Michael Myers is trying to kill. And we could be watching those films as they come out and go, oh, what's going to happen in Halloween 6? What's going to happen to little Jamie Lloyd? Like, she's going to grow up and whatever. There's no way we could have predicted that there was going to be a time jump in 6. She was going to get impregnated by Michael Myers off screen and then die in the first 5 minutes. You can't predict that. You can't predict that because that's up to the writers, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, in the case here, you know, bringing Gigi back.
I mean, that's a lovely way to start a film. Even a fucking horror film is... Character got raped off screen. Welcome to our nice film.
Also, she was his niece.
Oh, no.
She was Laurie Strode's daughter.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was a strange turn. But that is sort of similar to the point of bringing Gigi back. You know, Gigi could just come back, but why? The why, how Don answers that, changes everything. Why Gigi comes back, why anything come back.
I'd like to see the consequences of stealing 2 twins. Whose twins were they before they put the doll into 2 separate personalities into these twins?
No, they were. They were Jennifer Tilly's.
No, Jennifer Tilly adopted them, didn't she? And
No, she gave birth.
did she? In the
Yeah,
film?
she gave birth. But then they did the magic spell into him. So, yeah, it was an odd one because it was Chucky's sperm. So technically it was already his kids. But then they put Glenn and Glenda into those kids.
Oh. I thought they just swapped some twins.
But that still works in your point that those kids wouldn't have been Glenn and Glenda. So, I mean, technically there were already souls in those bodies.
Exactly. Well, next one is De Silva returns in some form or another. I mean, shrug. Genuinely the legacy character I have the least interest in. But I think also the legacy character that seems to be most active, the actor themselves seems to want to do it, if I remember rightly. So I think maybe the prediction comes from that. And I hope to be proved wrong, but I'm just not interested. Jesse and Jade would be interesting. Mike Norris would be interesting. Karen Barkley would be interesting. Tyler would be interesting. I think out of all of them, she's just the one I'm like,
Yeah, it's the same thing with the writing. None of these characters are going to be the exact same character as they were when we last saw them. Because it's been so long. It's the same thing with Andy, you know. Going from Child's Play 3, the last time we saw Andy, to the end of Curse of Chucky. It's the same actor, it's the same character, but because of this huge passage of time, they've completely changed as a person.
do you know, I'd quite like to see Third Rock from the Sun guy play someone else.
That would be funny. That would be fun.
And maybe have Andy go, you remind me of someone or something like that. You know, like the joke in the, he reminds me of my dad in series 2. That would be fun. Then we get flashbacks to how Andy escaped Harrogate, but only because there is a plot twist somewhere in there that will one-hit kill everyone. Okay.
That is a good point. That plot beat was completely ignored in the transition into the TV show, because that was one of the cliffhangers of Cult of Chucky.
Yes.
That he was locked in the asylum.
Yeah.
And clearly that was not really a thread that Don wanted to put emphasis on. You know, he just wanted to get straight to him and Kyle.
Yeah, I would guess it was probably something as simple as Kyle got him out, but I like the one-hit kill everyone. Maybe. More people get possessed by Chucky. Agree. I think
I'd love to see that,
yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that's clearly worked and people have enjoyed. And I think most of the actors would want to go at playing Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably true. And I think it was also time to leave Nika alone. And then secret surprise Chucky that survived the truck crash.
That's a good excuse to bring back more Chuckies.
Yeah, I just wonder whether that would have worked better if there was another established Chucky. You know how like Bald Chucky was established and then became Colonel Chucky? I think if there'd been another one established and then we assumed they'd been killed off, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a similar.
Maybe-
I think that's a similar case to Andy in the asylum. You know,
Yeah.
it's he introduced this element of all the Chuckies in the truck, and then that was it. He was done with it. They're all dead. Same thing with the cabin. You know, all the Chuckies dead at the cabin.
Yeah. And then they've sent us what they've described as their absolutely unhinged Series 3 predictions. Devon Sauer comes back again and they kill his character with an aeroplane.
All right, fair enough. I mean, you've got to up the explosion somehow.
Devon Sauer, I agree. Aeroplane, I don't know where you've got that from, but I like it. Nika hits Tiffany with a car. I don't think that's unhinged. I think that's kind of like possible. Which, you know, the Jennifer Tilly thing in the doll. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe she hits her with a bus. This one I like. They kill the in-universe Don Mancini, Brad Dourif, or Alex Vincent. Are they that meta?
Well, that is the interesting thing. The most meta they've gone is the whole Jennifer Tilly thing.
Yeah.
They've never gone super crazy. Now, they've expanded slightly with Meg Tilly and Gershon and Pantoliano, but that's still kind of related to the same crowd. I don't know if Don wants that to become the show.
And the Liv Morgan thing was done as a kind of like aside that clearly wasn't part of the actual storyline. It was almost like a nod, wink, wink, wasn't it? I don't think that Chucky took time out of torturing the kids to go and film a thing in canon, right?
It really depends which kind of attitude Don's going with. Is it... there can be a balance, like with the Catholic school. On one hand, he is kind of using his own show as an excuse to explore his own themes and feelings and stuff. And, you know, it's kind of a messy season. But on the other hand, you know, there's a lot of good stuff in it, like the themes and feelings of, like, religion and homosexuality and all that. So, if, you know, I don't know about season 3, maybe a season 4 or 5 or whatever, but, like, I imagine him doing Hollywood as a season.
Yeah. I think out of all of the 3 that Creek has suggested, Brad Dourif's the most likely. For the simple reason Brad Dourif is known for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and other films, whereas, not wishing to be rude, Don Mancini is the writer, so just a bit less famous in general than an actor. And Alex Vincent hasn't really had another iconic role, whereas Brad Dourif has.
Yeah.
And they always played on the Bound thing with Jennifer Tilly, so they could play on the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Maybe even write it in that he had a dry period where he was going to be playing, where he played Chucky.
Well, I guess we saw really how far Don wants to take it, because we got more references to Chucky Goes Psycho, and we got references to the Bride of Chucky movie, but we never saw any of it.
No.
You know, I think these are weird meta elements that he's introduced, but I don't know quite yet if he's interested in, you know, because the Catholic school, like I said, the Catholic school we couldn't really predict, but it's, you know, it's personal to him, and he has a lot of thought put into it. I think going Hollywood and being super meta, bringing in all these real actors as characters, yeah, it's just a bit, I don't know, up its own arse, really.
Obvious. Yeah.
It's really just, it's jokes where it's like, oh yeah, the fans will love this. Like, almost pandering in a way.
That's okay with me.
But like for a whole season.
Yeah. And finally, Gigi joins a travelling circus. I mean, they were kind of in a circus anyway, really, weren't they? When they were, maybe not a circus, but kind of circusy vibes when they were shitface.
Yeah, I always think of that as a circus, but no, that was more like a weird Edinburgh Fringe Festival kind of setting, wasn't it?
True, wasn't it in Glastonbury? If I remember
I think it was, yeah.
Good.
But yeah, good. That's a good place to take the character of Gigi, bring it back to that setting.
I genuinely don't think we're going to see Gigi for a while. Genuinely don't.
Or maybe like episode 4. It'd be a really like, no other characters, it's just Gigi's adventures in Britain for one episode.
Because why the fuck not? Okay, so next up was Kim I'm going to butcher this and I'm so sorry. Kim Schlegel-Rary, I think. Sorry. At Kimmy SR3. And they've said, I wanted to thank you for making this podcast. I grew up watching horror movies and thoroughly enjoyed them. I still have a Freddy movie marathon every Halloween. Thoroughly agree with this plan. And then she said, when I first saw Chucky, it hit different. And I guess through elementary, middle and high school, I would have the same nightmare off and on. Chucky would chase me through my empty school in the dark with nobody else around. And when Bride came out, Tiffany was there as well. And even though I never saw Gigi, they joined in with their parents terrorising me. I think, was it Cam who said that they had like recurring nightmares about Chucky as well, yet they still love the franchise. That being said, I used to have recurring nightmares about Freddy chasing me, and I fucking love Nightmare on Elm Street, so horror fans are weird. We are odd folk. My family and I used to go to the YMCA for swimming several nights a week, and when I was young, and Chucky used to chase me around the pool with little goggles and a snorkel on. I'd imagine most other people's nightmares that set place in a pool would contain Bruce from Jaws, which I had also seen, but didn't happen. I haven't had these nightmares in 15 years or so, and when the trailer for the Chucky series dropped, I knew I needed to watch it. I absolutely love it, and it's one of my favourite shows. Your pod and the flashbacks from the show fill a lot of the blanks from the movies I haven't seen. Go us! Oh, good. Sorry this wasn't long, but I figured if anyone might appreciate my Chucky history, it would be you two. Have a wonderful day and thank you again. And then she confirmed that her Spotify year in review, we were her most listened to podcast. Woo! Love this, Kim. Thank you so much for listening and thank you so much for your message. I love the idea that traumatised children continue to watch the thing that traumatised them.
Yeah, I think I said at the start of the podcast when we asked each other questions, right now I can't really remember when I first got into Child's Play, but I do remember Freddy. I remember watching that movie. And I remember, because the first one is quite a bit darker, and it is kind of going for a scary movie, of a scary vibe. Yeah, I remember being freaked out by that movie. But yeah, there's a weird curiosity to it, because you don't quite understand what you're watching. So you want to watch more to understand, like, what it is you're watching.
Yeah. Horror, I don't know what it is about horror, but all horror fans do seem to be a bit kind of almost gluttons for punishment. So that we have a potential Chucky variant for Series 3. Snorkel Chucky. The underwater Chucky that we didn't know we needed, with his goggles and his snorkel. I'm sure they could do some kind of like Jaws reference like they did with Exorcist references in this Series 2. Travis also got in touch, More Than Mindless, MORETHNMINDLES, on Twitter. And they said, I like that Jake and Evan are still together and they are collectively still friends with Lexi. I think they're a fun trio. I'm really happy their previous teacher is now their guardian. And I think that was a real kind of off-the-wall thing. I was never expecting to see that character again because I genuinely thought they were a Glenda or Glenn red herring.
Yeah, it's interesting to see them back and whatever they may do, the next story. It is nice, though. I agree with Travis. It's nice that the three characters have stayed together, that it's a real, genuine friendship. And, for all the horror, Nika doesn't really get much of it. I mean, she was kind of friends with Glenda. And, Andy and Kyle have stuck together all these years. So I like that the good guys aren't completely isolated and miserable.
They also said, I hope we can get Lachlan Watson and Bella Higginbottom back as new characters in the same way Devon Sauer has been returning. I don't know. Their performances were both brilliant. And I think I'd like flashbacks. I think it could be interesting to have like flashbacks that make the characters more important or something interesting that affects the plot later on in Series 3.
Bella, I could see coming back. Lachlan, it would be difficult because they were playing an established character. Do you know what I mean?
Established characters.
Yeah, they were synonymous with that. It's like, Jennifer Tilly playing Jennifer Tilly. I don't think, if those characters were killed off, I don't think she could really come back as another character. It just she was too synonymous with the character.
Yeah.
And Lachlan, even though it was one season, they are maybe too synonymous with Gigi.
Yeah.
Whereas Bella is a one-season character. They could come back as another character.
Yeah. In episode 1, I really, really loved the Scream homage with the phone call and Jake and Chucky. At first, I actually wasn't sure if it was Chucky and thought maybe Roger L. Jackson was doing a voice cameo. Side note, I would love to hear a Roger L. Jackson Ghostface voice cameo in the Chucky universe.
That would be fun.
Are they owned by Universal?
I think they're Miramax. Yeah, they could get Roger L. Jackson in. I mean, he... As much as he is Ghostface, it's not...
It's not quite the same as Chucky, is it?
No, well, it's not quite the same as, say, like, Jason, Like, they're never going to have a guy properly dressed up with the hockey mask and everything as Jason and be like, oh, look, Jason is in the Chucky show. With Roger L. Jackson, it's more like if Robert Englund cameoed and he was playing a different character, or he played a similar character. Well, and with Scream, it's more difficult as well, because it's like, you could cast Skeet Ulrich in a role and have that be like a Scream homage.
Yeah, you could.
But he wouldn't be playing Billy from Scream 1.
Yeah. I love the holiday episode. I actually said to a friend I was hoping we would see a Chucky holiday horror. I think we knew, didn't we, that it was going to be a Christmas episode quite early on. But Travis says that they didn't know until the week prior it actually airing.
I think that news may have only come out a week or two before the episode dropped.
Oh, am I misremembering?
Maybe, yeah, we might be. Yeah, that's why we were so shocked that the whole school plotline was wrapped up so fast.
Oh, yes, you're right.
We didn't realise that episode 7 was going to be the quote-unquote finale.
And yeah, the Christmas special in November was also a bold move as well. They've also said, give me more Chucky variants. I would love to see a Tiffany variant that sides with Chucky and tries to help him kill the real Tiffany. I don't know how you do that, but if anyone can do it, Don can.
I wonder if the variance is something that... I wonder if that's just like a season 2 thing, because it wasn't really a season 1 thing, was it?
No.
So I wonder if that is going to be the future, or if it's just, from here on out, it's just the Chucky we know.
Chucky Prime.
Yeah.
Who isn't Chucky Prime? We've had this conversation quite a lot. I love the character of Nadine, and I was devastated when they killed her off. Ironically, a couple of hours prior to seeing that episode, I was telling my husband when we were running errands that the show needed to start killing off the main characters because it needs stakes. So when they killed her, I literally squealed on the couch, and my husband got quite a kick out of just telling me, well, you wanted them to start killing characters. And I think that's true. I think a horror film does need to kill off important characters to have that real fear for the final girl or whoever is the main protagonist.
Yeah, they've already poked fun at that with the fact that when they lampshaded in season 2 the house explosion in season 1.
Yes.
When Chucky can't believe that nobody died in that bomb explosion.
Yeah, it's true. And I think killing Nadine was shocking. But now, looking back with kind of more horror fan analytical eyes, who else could they have killed in that way?
And we kept saying, is Andy going to die this season? Is Lexi going to die this season? It's got to happen eventually, doesn't it? Because it also looks bad on the story of Chucky. If it goes 3-4 seasons and Chucky just cannot kill these people at all, then yeah, the stakes are diminished because he's not as effective.
Yeah, I think the Andy thing works in as much as he needed to kill him, but where we got to now, he just wants to kill him, so he's prioritised him a little bit less. Whereas, yeah, it does seem like you need stakes, and Chucky has got a bit inept. Well, no, he hasn't. He's murdered lots and lots of people.
He kills lots of people, but unsuspecting people who are side characters.
As a non-binary person, I appreciated and really enjoyed the scene between Tiffany and Gigi. I liked how Glenda could not exist without Glenn because they are the same person. Of course, I love Billy Boyd coming back to do the doll's voice. I love the restyling of Gigi. I hope we see Gigi again in season 3, and I would be curious to know if Gigi and Nika have any conflict because Nika is hell-bent on destroying Tiffany.
I don't think they've got conflict. I think Gigi, in their current form, could probably forgive Nika.
For killing their mum?
No, I mean for accidentally killing them. You know, when they got shot.
Oh, yeah. But
I think Gigi doesn't have any kind of grudge or hatred towards Nika.
But they would if Nika did manage to successfully kill their mum, even though they got their problems with their mum.
Yeah, now they're the one being again, I feel like one of them might have been okay with it or understood it, whereas the other one might not have wanted that. Now they're the one person, I don't know if they'd stand in the way again. Yeah, probably.
I still don't think we're going to see Gigi for a while, but it definitely would be interesting to explore the relationship of Gigi and Nika, because Gigi knows what's happened now. Gigi understands what their mum did, but their mum is still their mum, and I think I would enjoy seeing that kind of conflict internally.
Well, we did kind of get that in third at the end, didn't we? That they... I actually forgot this. Yeah, they even say Gigi does call Nika. So they are kind of friends. And then there was that knife twist where they call Nika more than they call Tiffany.
True.
I don't think they've really picked sides at all, because I think the fact that, yeah, they left because they wanted to evolve, like anyone growing up.
Yeah.
They wanted to, work on themselves. But, yeah, they didn't have any problem leaving Tiffany in this problem, in these dire straits.
True. Yeah, like I say, I don't think we're going to see Gigi.
Maybe a cameo. Maybe for one episode.
Bring back more legacy characters like Andy's mom. Yes. And Tyler. And Jesse and Jade. And Mike Norris. Don't bother with Silver.
I definitely think Karen would be good. Even if Karen wasn't involved in the storyline, because clearly if she was, she would have already been working with Andy and Kyle by this point. So I definitely think she just wants to live her life. But I think having the actress Catherine Hexen, I think Dawn could probably write a really good scene for her, reconnecting with her son.
Yeah. Or even have her as you've got to drop this son, got to live your life, you've got to try and live rather than obsessing about this.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's how you can bring him in. It seems like Andy and Kyle are done with it. Probably would just visit his mum.
Yeah. And finally, overall I really enjoyed this season and plan on binging it again during my Christmas break. To quote Britney Spears, gimme more. You can't quote Britney Spears because that song was released in 2007. Britney Spears died in 2004. We would not have had that song if we did truly live in a world with Chucky. It's a good song. Right, next up is our chat. I think you're leading on this one, Dev.
Oh, yeah, I'm yours.
Where we inevitably prove that you're clever and I'm thick, and we look at our predictions over the series of Chucky Season 2.
Do you like crime stories, books, and people talking about those things? Then you should check out the Read and Buried podcast.
A murder? Oh.
I'm Frankie.
And I'm Sarah.
And in each episode, we pick a different theme and surprise and delight each other with a cheeky little review.
As you started reading, I was like, this sounds like a romance novel. And then you got to monstrous crime.
Yay, there it is. That's what we're here for, isn't it? We're also regularly visited by many talented and best-selling authors, including the likes of Chris Whitaker, Elizabeth Haynes, Emma Stonex, Fiona Cummins, and a whole lot more.
I obviously listened to the podcast, and I listened to you interviewing Chris Whitaker, and I thought, oh, hey, that sounds like a really good fun podcast.
If you like your crime books with a big side of silly, this is the podcast for you. Listen to the Read and Buried podcast right now, brought to you by the We Made This network.
Right, next up is our chat. Inevitably prove that you're clever and I'm thick, and we look at our predictions over the series of Chucky Season 2.
I've gone through all 8 episodes and the trailer episode we did. I've worked this all out on an Excel spreadsheet. It was going to be a bit more complicated. I basically worked out, I've said, the ones you've said, and a few that we both said.
Okay.
Those aren't being counted towards our percentages.
Okay.
There was only 10 or so that we both said, like, at the same time. Like,
I'm dreading this. I'm just going to sound thick as pig shit, and you're like, I got everything, you got nothing. And because I haven't listened back to the episodes, I have to believe you.
a lot of them were a mix of, I think this is going to happen, it would be cool if this happened. There were some wishy-washy ones that I did not count. Very early on, we were saying, like, Devon Sawa going to play a third brother, or is he going to play a new character? You can't really say that's incorrect or correct, because we said both options at the same time.
Right.
So I didn't include the ones where we both said, like, oh, anything could happen. I've included the ones where we've said, like, oh, I bet this happens.
Explicit predictions.
I think I'll go through, not all of them, but I'll go through maybe the notable ones, and then we'll have to talk about it. And then I'll go through the percentages afterwards. But I will ask, how many predictions do you think we made in total?
Explicit predictions.
Well, I may have... This also counts both. But yeah, explicit predictions, yeah.
Probably only about 12.
Mark, we made 96.
Fucking idiots. We're not bad predicting on this podcast. 10 fucking times more than I expected, basically. Lack of self-awareness is bad.
I mean, not many of them were crazy ones. A lot of them were just...
Oh, no, so not many of them were robot arms.
There was some outliers, but I have the list here and I'll go through it. So Jake's haircut shows the passing of time. That was correct. He got a haircut because it was a year later. That was a small one. We made a lot of small ones like that. Jake and Devon interviewed on TV. That was me, and that was incorrect. Do you remember how the trailer portrayed that? It was the TV guy saying something like, so whatever happened about that Chucky? And then, like, it cut to Jake and Devon. But in the TV show, that guy was interviewing Michelle.
Right.
So we had a conversation about, are these three famous now? And that was not something in the show.
Yeah, so they're doing an MCU in the trailer then, by the looks of things.
Yeah. And so other things like that, you didn't, like, because you didn't think they were going to be on TV, you said maybe they were a police officer interviewing them. And that was, also incorrect. They're still living down the massacre. Correct. It was a big part of episode 1. The trio was split up at the start. Correct. The episode 1 was bringing them together. This was my 2.1 here, which was right and wrong. I said Chucky does a ghost face, which he does on the phone.
Yes.
Then I also said Jake was dressed up as Ghostface, and he wasn't. He was Batman.
He was.
We didn't see the full costume. Bryce's cast will torment Jake. Nope.
No.
It was a throwaway joke, and then no one ever brought it up again. He is an asshole, but a moment where he gets involved, and he's not going to be a bad guy, and then he dies a horrible death. That was me calling in, I think, the trailer episode of what Father Bryce was going to be.
And you got it going on. Fuck. Impressive.
But then I was wrong here. I thought they were going to swerve it and say Bryce knows that they're gay when he says, oh, I know your past. I thought, oh, he's talking about them being gay, not about Chucky. But now in the episode, he was talking about Chucky. You thought maybe there was going to be a conversion therapy storyline. Never went that
Never
dark.
went there. No.
Some adult at Catholic school is likeable. That was a probably easy bet. Yeah. First couple of trailers, we didn't know why they were there at all. So we thought relocated as orphans, and maybe Lexi's drugs got her there. We couldn't predict Gary. That's what I mean about predictions.
Yeah.
We could try and predict season 3, but we don't know something like Gary is going to happen.
No. Oh, Gary.
Glenn and Glenda are still British. They were Anglophiles, but they weren't British.
Yeah, but then they became British.
This was just something very early on that we didn't know. We said Glenn is short hair and long is Glenda. Got that wrong.
Glad we got that wrong, actually, because that's kind of almost like gender norms, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they went with the less obvious.
Yeah. It wasn't really...
choice.
Yeah, when we said it in context, it wasn't really a prediction. It was more of just an assumption. And so I pointed that out because we were wrong. There was a lot of shots of Nika escaping the house in the trailer, and we didn't know why, so we said, is Glenda capturing the escaping Nika? No. They were just running alongside Nika. It turns out they were on the same side.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be a scene where we got an internal dialogue with Nika. Turns out Nika had been talking with Nika Chucky.
She had, yeah.
But then I also said that Nika Chucky was going to be played by the same way she played Brad Dourif. That it was going to be that version of Chucky.
But it wasn't.
But no, it was just a doll. Nadine was going to be a goody two-shoes religious kid.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Well, she did nick a lot of shit.
Yeah, but this was from the trailer.
Yeah.
Where we just literally saw like an image of her.
Yeah.
Andy and Kyle spend the season thinking the other one is dead. True, yeah.
Yeah. Who predicted that?
That was me.
Boo.
But it could have been wrong. It could have easily been wrong. We both said Andy sacrifices himself in the truck, or attempts to sacrifice himself in the truck.
Yeah.
That was correct. You said there was only going to be 1 or 2 episodes in the school.
Not all the episodes were in the school. One of them was at Jennifer Tilly's house. One of them was at a Christmassy Lexi's mum's house. So, no, I don't think you can say I was wrong there, because there were only 4 episodes in there were only 5 episodes in the school.
Oh, now we're breaking it down.
So I was close. I was close to that. So your stats are wrong. Therefore, if you've done better than me, I'm calling bullshit.
The main cast, the whole main cast, the ensemble, will only fully unite at the end.
True.
That was true, yeah.
Well, unless you can't. I mean.
Well, episode 7 was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Tyler will return as a teacher. That was more of a wish than a.
That was definitely a wish.
Here's one I got completely wrong because I was just throwing things at the wall.
Good.
I said Gina and Joey were going to play characters that they weren't going to play themselves. So
wrong.
Wrong, yeah.
Wrong. Maybe I'm going to win.
See, this is another thing that's still talking about how they got there in season 2. We said the kids are going to be sent there due to Chucky. That was true.
Correct.
I said, will homophobia play a big part? And like the conversion therapy.
No,
not really, no. Aside from the Bryce thing only came up here and there. It was not consistent. Is Bald Chucky a different personality?
Yes.
You said that early on. You were like, oh, what if Bald Chucky is going to be his own variant?
To be fair, I expected him to be kind of funny.
You didn't think Apocalypse Now.
I genuinely think he was depicted for the lols to begin with. I didn't get a knife at...
He was a different character then.
And
yeah,
so
he was a completely different character.
Maybe there were 2 Bald Chuckies. Maybe that Bald Chucky died. And then a different Bald Chucky became Apocalypse Now Colonel Chucky. Maybe.
This is one you totally called when we were watching the trailers. 90% of the truck scenes, we've already seen it. Like, we were talking about how much more there is going to be to it. And now, we pretty much saw all of it in the trailer.
Yeah.
It was not a very long scene. We both said that the Evil Dead cabin was going to be the truck dolls. We even said that was going to show up late in the season, and it did.
Really? Go team.
There were going to be many Tiffany's, because I think maybe we thought that because of the first episode, but
and the bride in the cockpit.
Yeah, but no, not really.
No,
not in the same way as the Chuckies.
Oh no.
Mine are totally wrong because couldn't predict this. I said at the start with the UPX guy, who's delivering Chuckies if not Tiffany. We didn't know about Mixter, so I got that one wrong. We talked about the past with Seed of Chucky, and I said G&G probably don't remember Chucky. They don't seem to remember Chucky, and that turned out to be true.
Yeah,
they were reunited with him
because they were abandoned more than their memory was fucked.
Here was one I got right and then wrong. I said the bomb was going to start off season 2, which is correct. But then I also said the bomb was non-toxic.
It was definitely toxic.
Yeah, it was definitely toxic. For some reason, everyone else in that house survived. The gas. I don't know if it was the explosion or the gas that killed Gary. Yeah, someone did die.
Definitely died. Gary.
The kids are blamed for the season 1 massacre. No, stayed with Junior. They got off scot-free from that. Again, I shouldn't have really counted this, but you said, are we to believe James Bond and Chucky are in the same universe?
Why did I say that?
I'm trying to remember why you did say that. That was early on. That was like episode 2 or something. But you said that for some reason.
Good. Slept since then.
This is me trying to cover all angles. I said Gina and Joey are playing themselves.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
You got this one right. You said, is addiction still going to be a Tiffany plot? And it was.
It's good. I'm glad they did it as well. I think it was important that if they were doing an addiction thing with Lexi to not ignore that Tiffany is an addict as well.
The big one, of course. Nika has robot arms.
I don't think they count as robot arms. They're mechanical arms. They're not robot arms.
In the episode, though, when it happens, I said that, and I went, they're not really robot arms, they're mechanical arms. And you said, no, they're robot arms.
Okay. Robot arms. We are the robots. Boop, 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 boop. And now I've shared this with our listeners. What goes through my head every single fucking time we talk about robot arms? It could be worse because it's a rather good song by a beautifully peculiar German band. But Kraftwerk, We Are the Robots, hasn't been in my head for a long time. And it's all your fault. Boop, 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 boop. That every single time.
So robot arms are not.
Boop, 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 boop.
Mechanical arms are not. I was wrong on this one. I had a theory where Chucky could possess the arms, and that's why they worked. No, they were just...
That was fucking wild.
I thought it would make sense within the voodoo. You know, he can possess a doll, so he can possess other non-animate objects.
Like robot arms. Boop,
Yeah.
boop, boop, boop.
But no, Don went he was a very silly choice, but he went the way of realism with the fact that they were just prosthetics. We both kind of thought this, but are all the Chuckies buff under their clothes? We hadn't quite been introduced to buff Chucky yet, so we'd only seen pictures, and we thought, are they all buff? But no, it was the one
Just
variant.
one buff Chucky.
Gigi, Nika, Tiffany, and the others, they're going to show up earlier this season. Because I think we were talking... No, right, they did show up earlier than before. In season 1, they only showed up like episode 5 or 6.
Oh, right. So the characters themselves rather than at the...
No, yeah, I meant on screen.
Gotcha.
Because that was something we were discussing. Is it going to be more similar to season 1? And no, that was a different thing they did.
I don't think either of us predicted that Jennifer Tilly would star in her own 45-minute film with none of the main principal casting.
We did not predict that.
Did we not predict that?
We'll see Doll and Nika Chucky talk to Gigi. That happened to be correct. We did see all the combinations there. Nika Chucky will turn Gigi against Tiffany. That was
Correct.
attempted. Well, that was attempted, but it didn't work.
No, it did. She was in league with Glenn and Glenda to escape.
Yeah, but that was my prediction, and it was more in the vein of Chucky was going to try and turn them like physically violently against Tiffany.
Oh, okay.
And at the most, yeah, they helped them escape. But it was more, even with Glenda, it was more a case of they wanted to help Nika. And then maybe get some answers from her dad. It was more of an altruism than a sort of evilness.
True.
So, I was kind of wrong. And it did work as well. Both of them turned their backs on Chucky at the end. You said this was from episode 1. I don't think we'll see Caroline for a while. And
I was right.
Yeah, I counted this correct, yeah. We thought it would be nice to have them throughout the season, but they just showed up at the end.
But what a showing.
You said we'll see Michelle and Hackensack again. We did, at the end.
Yeah, mate. Hey, I'm starting to think I might win this shit.
We both got this one right. I don't know when this was in the series, but we said the Chuckies have trapped and tortured Andy.
They
and
did
we
that.
were correct, yeah. This was me going wild again.
Good.
I said, what if Chucky brought Andy back as a doll? Did not happen. They still kept Alex Vincent around. This was where
That would be so cool, though.
It would be cool, maybe season 3. This is where I was very wrong about the law. From season 1, still didn't believe that a child killing was part of the magic, but then that was finally confirmed at the end of season 2.
Right, yeah.
Because it was Chucky asked Mixter that he needs a child to kill. And it was her idea to think of it. So, yeah, I never thought it was a necessity, but yeah, turns out it was. This is something I noted. We'll learn more about Bryce and Ruth that changes our perspective on them. I wrote that.
True.
That's not correct or incorrect. That's just how writing works. That is how characters in a TV show work.
I was going to say you were right, but you're also... Good point.
So that really was a nothing point.
No, don't score yourself for that. If you've scored yourself for
I
that...
haven't.
Good. I want this fair. You know I'm going to call bullshit if you win.
This is me, just a technical one, just to bump up the numbers, but I said the Drunk Priest at a Death was going to be the next episode, but then it wasn't. It was a couple episodes after that, so just a little one that I got wrong.
But you did count it as wrong.
Yeah, I counted
Good.
Because I said it was going to be, I think we were on episode 1 or 2,
Good.
and I said it was going to be the next episode. It wasn't.
Good, I'm glad. Loser.
I said this one, and I counted it as incorrect, because we
Good.
never got an answer.
Good.
A Chucky doll hid the Tiffany head in her bed.
Yeah, we never got that.
We never actually learned who did that, so I put it as incorrect because I kind of thought that we would get an answer, and we didn't. Then you suggested maybe Bald Chucky put Tiffany's head there, and we don't know.
I think that's the most likely, and I should get a point.
Another one of my wild fancies. because we didn't know how Nika was going to get out of the house, I said, maybe the Chuckies are carrying her.
That was a bit of a...
I guess that was a prediction, but it was more me just wanting to see that.
Yeah, true. And also, I'm not sure their budget would have covered that level of CGI. We did see some ropey CG. And some ropey practical effects. That fucking fly!
Trevor is pretending to be a good guy. I think most people saw that.
Yeah, the guy said that.
Nadine may still die this season.
No.
I don't think that was me. I don't think he wanted to believe that. I said Jake and Devon will have a real blow-up argument. They did by the end of it, yeah. I would have not counted that for the fact that they didn't really finish the argument. They just put it aside, didn't they?
No, it feels like it's resolved though, but mainly because the Chucky storyline is resolved rather than their relationship problems is resolved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I think the blow is well, it's like that thing, when like Captain America Civil War, the blow up changed things. Like the Avengers split apart.
Yeah.
So like there was a big argument. And then they kind of resolved it. I think it's still there, the drama problem.
Yeah, this is meticulously researched, Dev.
Even though I predicted exactly what happens with Bryce, I still had to throw out more just to be sure. I said at this point, Bryce won't find out about Chucky until too late, which was wrong. Because he found out about Chucky and then still had his whole episode.
I mean, he was doomed because he found out, but it wasn't a, hi, I'm Chucky, stabby stabby, was it?
Safe bet from you. We'll have a third Devon Sour death in season 2.
I mean, that is a safe bet.
Then you made a less safe bet. You said, oh wait, no, you got this right. This was a question. You said Jim Carrey cameo? Probably not. That was a correct prediction.
It wasn't a cameo. He was on screen.
No, but when we saw him on the screen, you were like, oh, what if he showed up? And you went, no, that won't happen.
No.
I said, is a little Chucky chloroforming Tiffany? Because there was that little nod of the chloroform. But then I think we were led to believe that was Glenn and Glenda. Yeah, so I was wrong about that. Oh yeah, this is one where this was a little confusing because of the wording. Before the TV show started saying Prime Chucky, we were saying Prime Chucky.
That counts as a big one, I think.
But I think we were saying the Prime Chucky was like the Colonel at some point. So you were like, is Nika Chucky the Colonel? And then that turned out it wasn't.
Right.
But then you did say the Colonel is Bald Chucky, and that was correct.
I think I wanted the Colonel to be Bald Chucky.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah. So that was correct. This is me really more wanting it. We were just talking about variants. But I put it as a prediction. Italian Chucky. We didn't see it, so...
No, we did not see slightly offensive, bad accent Italian Chucky. I don't think we're going to see that.
Trevor was going to play a bigger part with Lexi's drugs.
Nope.
He would have, but nope, didn't happen. Is Bryce going to say being gay is a choice? Yeah, he kind of did, didn't he?
Yeah, but it was much more tragic than we...
It was sadder, yeah. I said when we catch up with Michelle, she'll probably have a very different lifestyle, because that's when we learnt that she was no longer male.
Yeah.
Not really. She still lived in a big house and had a big fancy Christmas.
Yeah.
It wasn't that different.
Yeah, but she was a bit more humble.
A little bit, but I thought she was going to be like on a down and out.
Yeah, you're right.
This was almost correct, but it ended up being incorrect. Sister Catherine's backstory will come up. It was in the show alluded to, and then it never happened. So
I didn't know about that until Wadji mentioned it.
So we definitely picked up on the fact that it was going to be in it, and almost was. This was me being completely wrong. This was when Buff Chucky was introduced, and I was like, oh, Buff Chucky's going to be a real challenge to overcome. Not really.
No.
They didn't even fight Buff Chucky.
No. To be fair, it was a challenge that Trevor couldn't overcome.
Like Italian Chucky, you said, what about Wizard Chucky?
Wizard Chucky. That wasn't a prediction, that was for the lols. If I lose by 1 point, I'm calling bullshit. I didn't predict Wizard Chucky. There's a difference between predict and want, and that was not a prediction. Strike the record. I'm calling bullshit.
You also said we might meet Paul. We didn't. In retrospect, just flavour dialogue, wasn't it, really? To kind of build up their story. But no, we never actually saw Paul. You made a point that Glenda was going to get to the school first, and they did.
Go me. I think that came from seeing just one of them running in that scene with the they-them car in the background. So the prediction came from something that was wrong.
We both made this one. We said Chuck Pool wasn't really a character.
That is not a prediction. That's me being stupid again.
We both said that one.
Chuck Paul.
I said after episode 4, I'd like to see some resolution with Meg Tilly. I thought it would be good to see more Meg Tilly.
And we got some resolution, but unfortunately it was Meg Tilly getting stabbed and murderized.
Ruth will think Buff Chucky is Jesus.
Correct.
I said we'll see Gigi learn they are one soul. And that didn't really happen, did it? They learned they were a doll, but then when they both died, there was no dialogue explaining that.
No, but they definitely learnt it.
Off screen, though.
Yeah.
This was one. There was a bit of contention between us about it. I said that Mixter was going to be parental guide to Chucky. And you said that doesn't make any sense because of the age. And so you were correct, but then I was correct because in the TV show they just ignored the age thing.
True.
Sad for me. Season 3 renewal will happen soon. Incorrect. A bald Chucky has been eating the other Chuckies because he was eating Andy.
Was that confirmed?
See it? No, we didn't see it. That was incorrect. Because we never saw it. Next episode, we'll get more Mixed backstory. Not really.
No.
She was just evil for the sake of it. I meant next episode, like, when the episode where we saw her in the cabin at the end. And I was like, oh, we're really going to go into this character. No. Not really. You said Mixter was going to have a past influence. And we did see that. They were talking about the events of season 1. I then corrected myself and said, we may step over all of her backstory just for the pacing. And that was more accurate.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
We may see Glenn kill out of love, and we didn't. No, only...
We did see Glenda, though.
Yeah. We saw Glenda kill, but yeah, we never saw Glenn kill.
No.
Chucky will try to kill his kids from now on. That was correct.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the show, we were really saying, like, Chucky, he does love his kids. Like, but not by the end of the show. He very explicitly said he was going to kill his own children.
Which is really quite sad, actually.
I said Chucky was shot in the mouth by Andy, because that was actually Mixter.
Yeah, you got that 100%
I got that one,
right. Yeah, you did.
But then what I didn't get was when Glenn got shot, I was just like, oh no, they're going to die. And then you were like, oh, they're going to go into the doll. So you were correct.
Yeah.
It was not all of them, but that was most of them.
Edited highlights. Right, go on. Who won?
We're going to ask you some questions now.
Okay.
Because, well, you were clearly off about how many in total. But, who had more predictions?
You.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah, see? Right, okay.
How many...
Right, that counts as a prediction in the final result.
How many roughly do you think you made out of the 96 total?
What's half of 96? 48.
43? No.
No, wasn't
No, yeah, you'd be right, yeah.
So I'm going to say, from the information you've given me, maybe I predicted 43.
Okay, so you're going for a kind of even split, okay.
Go on.
You made 28.
28 predictions?
And I made 58.
Wow.
So I was trying to cover all bases.
But that doesn't add to 96.
No, this was my plus the 10 that we made together.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood the question. I think I made 28 predictions.
How does that factor into the percentage? Is more better, or is more accurate predictions better?
I'm not sure I made accurate predictions. That's the fucking problem.
Do you think you made more correct than incorrect predictions?
I'm going to say I made more incorrect predictions.
And, well, I already know, but do you think the same for me, or?
No, if I remember rightly, you were bang on so frequently. I think you made more correct predictions.
Okay, well, we'll see here. Mark, you made 13 correct and 15 incorrect.
Oh!
So you were 53.57% wrong.
53% wrong. Story of my life.
Now I made 27 correct predictions.
Right.
But because I made so many more, I made 30 incorrect predictions.
Okay.
And so I was 52.63% wrong.
I can't remember what my score
You were 53, so I won it by 1%. We were both slightly more wrong than right.
Right, and I call bullshit because that you didn't count, so I win! I win. What do I win?
Yeah, there was no prize.
Oh.
But yes, that is... The reason I did it was because it was a big part of recap shows. People on YouTube, people on podcasts always making predictions.
Fucking hell.
I think the difference was you were making predictions just as a fan. You know, you were just watching it and guessing things. I was definitely, in a way, more wrong because my predictions are trying to be so based on reality and that sort of extra textual. Oh, because it's, screenwriting rules, then this has to happen. And I was arguably more wrong on some of them because I was trying to predict... You were trying to predict the show, and I was trying to predict Don Mancini.
Okay. That makes a weird kind of sense. I'm crossed at a loss, though.
I don't know if these are the figures we should be putting out there. Are fans going to be devastated that we are more wrong about Chucky than right?
I'm not going to check your figures. That does involve making the kind of crazy amount of notes that you clearly made for that. I'm not doing that. But I'll tell you what we are doing. We've already done it, really. Is we're doing Christmas at Rosemont. And that's coming out on Christmas Eve. And that'll be like our Christmas episode.
This is all sort of a Christmas special because I think for both of the interviews, we used the Santa opening.
Yeah, all through December, Santa opening. It's Advent. It's Christmas.
Our Christmas special will be the most Christmassy of all our episodes. So that was the Season 2 roundup of Chucky and Chucky Vision. I hope all of our listeners, all of our fabulous listeners who have been giving us questions, who have been interacting with us on Twitter at Chucky Vision, I hope all of you have enjoyed, the whole show. I hope you've enjoyed the special that we've just done. I hope you're not devastated that statistically we don't know what we're talking about with Chucky. No, that is not what the stats mean.
We just don't know what we're talking about. It's nothing to do with the stats.
But I hope you all had a great time. I hope you have a great time with the Christmas special. It's going to sound like a goodbye. Whether or not season 3 happens, we've already talked about this. We're going to be doing more specials. We're going to keep the show going.
We're going to do batteries not included.
Yep, we've already got some great specials lined up for the next couple months. So.
We're going to be doing Heartstopper. Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing more comics. We're going to be doing... We've got some dumb shit ideas. Don't worry.
Dumb shit ideas, but really, hopefully, as the season 1 specials were, hopefully some really good episodes. So I hope you guys stick around. But until then, wanna play? I was a little fast. Was not a great one.
No, it's not your best work.
Chucky Vision is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This Network. Follow us on Twitter at CHUCKYVISION. Follow the network on Twitter at WMT_network. Our website is WeMadeThisNetwork.com. The logo was designed by Dev, and the theme tune composed by Dark Fantasy Studios. Wanna play?
Hi, I'm Colin. I'm Ian.
And I'm Tracy.
And we dig music.
Just not always the same music.
Each episode, we pick our 10 favourite songs from a specific year, rate them, and then battle it out over a top 30 countdown.
Colin's pretty enthusiastic about most stuff, Ian less so.
And Tracy definitely owns a thesaurus. And one of us will regularly be told to fuck off.
So join us each month to hear what we dig and what we don't. Listen to We Dig Music wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on WeDigPodcast.com, or we're on the We Made This Podcast Network, which you can find at WeMadeThisNetwork.com.